This is Heliox, where evidence meets empathy. Independent, moderated, timely, deep, gentle, clinical, global, and community conversations about things that matter. Breathe easy, we go deep and lightly surface the big ideas.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring Semiosis, a science fiction novel by Burke.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it looks really interesting, and you've shared some excerpts with us that focus on the human attempt to colonize Pax,
Okay.
a planet just teeming with intelligent plant life. And it seems like you're really interested in seeing how the colonists adapt to this really strange world.
Yeah, it's a very unique concept, and I think that it kind of turns the whole colonization narrative on its head a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Because instead of, the humans going in and conquering the environment, they're really forced to kind of adapt and negotiate with this world where plants hold all the power.
Okay, so walk us through this then. What do we learn about the initial human mission?
So the excerpts that you've shared show us a group of humans arriving on Pax,
Okay.
and they're seeking a fresh start, hoping for a peaceful existence.
Yeah.
They've got a diverse set of skills, botanists, engineers, you name it.
Yeah, the classic mix for starting a new civilization.
Exactly. Yeah, classic mix. And the early challenges they face are pretty much what you'd expect,
Right, finding food, shelter, adapting to a new climate.
Exactly, yeah. Basic survival stuff.
But then things get interesting because that's when they run into the snow vine.
Ah, yes, the snow.
This plant that, at first appears harmless.
Right, totally harmless.
But then
The
turns out to be deadly.
Yeah.
And you might be surprised to learn that 3 colonists, Carrie, Nina, and Z, actually die from eating poisonous fruit from this plant.
Yeah, that's a pretty stark reminder that despite their best efforts, they're still very much out of their depth on Pax.
For sure. And I think what's really intriguing about this whole situation is how it highlights this novel's exploration of symbiotic relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
The snow vine, for instance, has a close relationship with the fippicat, these small, furry creatures that spread its seeds.
Yeah, they're kind of like the unwitting accomplices of this plant.
Yeah, and the colonists, in their attempt to, control the fippicat population, they unknowingly become pawns.
Yes.
In the snow vine's war against other plants.
It's like a whole other level of conflict that they didn't even anticipate.
Yeah, it's like a whole ecosystem war going on.
Exactly, and it really speaks to that bigger theme of unintended consequences, which is something I think you might want to keep in mind as you continue reading.
It's almost as if the snow vine is manipulating the humans.
It really is. It makes you think about the different levels of intelligence at play here.
Which actually brings us to another fascinating plant, and that's the rainbow bamboo.
Yes, the rainbow bamboo.
And this bamboo actually communicates with humans.
I know, it's amazing.
Through color changes and scent.
It's like something out of a fantasy novel.
It is, yeah, it's crazy. And it becomes a vital ally for the colonists, helping them to understand the ecosystem and even providing them with resources.
Yeah, it challenges our whole definition of intelligence
Oh.
because we tend to view intelligence through such a human lens.
Yes.
But semiosis is really pushing us to broaden our perspective and recognize that intelligence can take many forms.
And it makes you think, what other secrets does Pax hold? Because the excerpts also mention the glassmakers.
Oh, yes, the glassmakers.
This long-gone civilization that seemingly lived in harmony with the bamboo and left behind all these tantalizing clues for the colonists to decipher.
It's like a puzzle box waiting to be unlocked.
It really is, and I think this is where things start to get really interesting, because we see the emergence of this generational conflict.
Oh, absolutely. A classic clash between the old and the new.
Yeah, so you've got the original... and maintaining those earth traditions,
Yeah, they're clinging to the familiar in this strange new world.
And they're very cautious about Pax and all of its mysteries.
They've seen what can happen.
But their children,
Ah, yes, the children of Pax.
who were born on Pax,
Yeah.
have a completely different perspective.
They're natives.
Yeah.
They don't have that baggage.
Right. You can sense their
Oh,
curiosity.
absolutely.
And their skepticism of these old Earth ways, and they're eager to explore.
They want to uncover the secrets of their home planet.
Yeah. And this all comes to a head when the children discover the glassmaker city.
Oh, wow. A secret hidden by the parents?
Yes, a secret that the parents had kept hidden. And it just highlights this huge clash between, a generation clinging to the past and this new generation embracing the unknown.
It's a powerful metaphor for the challenges of adaptation.
Right, and how each generation has to find its own way to navigate this new world.
Exactly, and it makes you think about the legacy we leave for future generations.
And then lurking in the background of all of this is the Pax Curse.
Oh yes, the Pax Curse.
This unexplained sterility that's affecting the colonists.
It adds this whole other layer of desperation to their struggle for survival.
It does, yeah. It raises all these questions about their long-term future on Pax.
Yeah, can they truly build a new society if they can't reproduce?
And it's fascinating how this curse also plays into the theme of human vulnerability.
Oh, for sure.
Despite all of their technology and their ambition, the colonists are still at the mercy of these forces they don't understand.
It's a reminder that we're not as in control as we like to think.
Right, and it forces them to confront their limitations.
And adapt in ways they never anticipated.
So we've got this backdrop of complex plant life, generational conflict, a mysterious curse, and then we're introduced to Tatiana.
Okay, Tatiana, what's her story?
So Tatiana is an investigator who's trying to uncover the truth about the glassmakers and several murders within the colony.
Ooh, a detective in this strange new world.
She is. And she's intelligent, determined, willing to challenge authority.
Sounds like a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, yeah, and her investigations lead her to encounter Stevland.
Stevland?
You might remember him as the rainbow bamboo.
Oh, right, the talking bamboo.
Yes, now given a name by the colonists.
I see, so they've formed a connection.
They have. And this is where things take another fascinating turn, because we've got a human investigator seeking answers from a sentient plant.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
And to make things even more intriguing, Tatiana uses truth fruit provided by Stevland to uncover hidden motives and lies.
So it's like a truth serum.
It is.
But provided by a plant.
I know, it's crazy. And what's so fascinating here is how these excerpts really explore interspecies communication.
Yeah, the challenges and rewards of bridging that vast gap in understanding.
Right, and it also raises all these questions about power dynamics and manipulation.
Especially with the use of the truth fruit.
Exactly. Who controls the flow of information?
And how does that shape relationships?
These are some things to definitely keep in mind as you delve deeper into semiosis.
Definitely lots to ponder.
And just when you think you're starting to grasp the intricacies of this world, bam, the colony is attacked by glassmaker orphans.
Oh no, the glassmaker orphans, what are they like?
So this attack completely shatters the illusion of peaceful coexistence.
Wow, so much for harmony.
Right, it throws the colony into total chaos. And what's really important to note is that these orphans are different from the glassmakers that are hinted at earlier.
Oh, so there are different types of glassmakers?
Yeah, they are. And these orphans are physically and mentally impaired.
That's so sad.
Yeah, it seems like the result of some catastrophe that befell their civilization.
So there's a whole backstory there.
There is. And their attack on the colony, which they named Lux, is brutal.
They're not holding back.
They're not. And it forces these pacifist colonists to confront this whole new level of violence.
It's a reminder that intelligence doesn't necessarily equate to benevolence.
Right. And these excerpts really highlight the limitations of human understanding.
We can't always predict or control what other beings will do.
Especially when we're dealing with species that operate by entirely different rules.
And what's really interesting is how Stevland, the rainbow bamboo, steps in to protect the colonists.
Yes, he does.
He uses scent to manipulate the orphan's behavior,
Right.
which shows just how deeply he understands this ecosystem.
He does.
But this protection raises further questions about his motives.
Of course, because is he truly an ally?
Or does he have his own agenda?
Something for you to ponder as you continue reading.
It's like he's playing a much deeper game.
Yeah. And the aftermath of this attack leaves the colony in a very precarious position.
So they're vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're introduced to Curls, a glassmaker queen, who desires peace and aid from the humans.
So there's hope for diplomacy.
Maybe. But coexisting with the glassmakers, especially the orphans, presents this whole new set of challenges.
Yeah, how do you rebuild trust after such a devastating attack?
Right. And the excerpts leave us with this sense of uneasy peace.
It's like the calm before the storm.
Yeah, the colony is fragile, and the questions surrounding the glassmakers and Stevland's role remain unanswered.
It seems like the novel is just getting started.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have. It's been fascinating.
We've seen the initial challenges, the complex relationships, and this shocking turn of events that leaves the colony's future hanging in the balance. But there's still so much more to explore.
I'm ready for more.
We'll be back with part 2 to delve even deeper into the world of semiosis.
Thank you for being curious and subscribing, following, liking, rating, and reviewing our podcast episodes. Your support really helps build a vibrant Heliox community.
Welcome back to our deep dive into semiosis. When we left off, the colony was in kind of a fragile state after the whole orphan attack. They were trying to rebuild, figure out how to move forward, but it seems like they're not totally unified in their approach.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The excerpts you've shared show this growing rift within the colony. Like some of them, like Cedar, she advocates for a more aggressive stance toward the glassmakers,
Okay.
seeing them as this constant threat. But then you have others like Daisy who believe in pursuing peace and understanding,
Okay.
hoping to kind of bridge the gap between these two species. It's a classic debate, right? When different cultures collide, what do you do?
Definitely. And then there's Stevland, and he seems to be taking on an even more prominent role.
Exactly. He's
Yeah.
not just a source of information anymore, or just a protector. He's actively shaping events now using his knowledge and influence to steer the course of the colony's future, like he's got a plan.
Right. And what's really fascinating is that in these excerpts, we get a glimpse into Stevland's perspective for the first time.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing his thoughts and his motivation.
It's like we're getting inside the mind of a plant.
I know. It's crazy, and it's not what you'd expect.
No, not at all. You might be surprised to learn that his thought processes are much slower, more deliberate, and deeply intertwined with the natural world.
Interesting.
He's constantly analyzing, calculating, and manipulating his surroundings, even down to the molecular level.
Wow.
It really challenges our assumptions about intelligence and reminds us that there are other ways of perceiving and interacting with the world.
One detail that really struck me was Stevland's description of how he nearly died due to the actions of the glassmakers.
Oh, right. He definitely holds a grudge.
He does. But he's also striving for this peaceful resolution.
It shows how complex he is. He's driven by self-preservation, just like any other intelligent being, but he's also capable of long-term planning and strategizing. Makes you wonder, what are his true goals? Is he manipulating the humans and the glassmakers for his own benefit? Or is he genuinely trying to create a stable coexistence?
It's hard to tell. And speaking of the glassmakers, these excerpts paint kind of a grim picture of their current state.
Yes, Marie, the colony's physician, she makes this startling discovery. The glassmakers they encounter are physically and mentally impaired, like they're suffering from malnutrition developmental issues.
Wow.
This is a far cry from that advanced civilization that built the magnificent Rainbow City.
Right.
It makes you wonder what happened to them. Was it a natural disaster, a societal collapse, or something more sinister?
It's a mystery that adds another layer of complexity to the colonists' whole dilemma.
Definitely, because now they're not just dealing with a potential enemy, but with a species in desperate need of help.
Right, so how do they balance their own survival with their responsibility to a species that's both dangerous and vulnerable?
It's a tough question that underscores the ethical dimension of semiosis.
Yeah, there are no easy answers, and it's clear that the colonists are divided on how to proceed.
Yeah. Some, like Marie, feel this moral obligation to help the glassmakers.
Sure.
But others see it as a naive and dangerous proposition.
And just when you think things couldn't get more complicated, there's another attack, this time orchestrated by Bologna, a glassmaker queen, who seems to harbor this deep resentment toward the humans.
Oh, wow. This is getting intense.
It is, and this attack is even more terrifying than the orphan attack because it's carefully planned and executed.
So they're learning.
Yeah, it reveals a level of cunning and ruthlessness that the colonists just didn't anticipate.
They underestimated their enemy.
In Bologna, she uses the orphans as her weapons, manipulating their desperation and rage to sow chaos and destruction.
That's cold.
The excerpts describe these scenes of intense violence and fear as the colonists are just struggling to defend themselves.
They're fighting for their lives.
And what's particularly chilling is Bologna's cold, calculating nature.
Yeah. It's like she's devoid of empathy.
She seems driven by this combination of self-preservation and a desire for revenge.
It's a stark reminder that intelligence doesn't necessarily equate to morality.
It doesn't. And in the midst of all this chaos, who do you think emerges as a pivotal figure once again?
Let me guess, Stefland.
Skevlin, of course. He uses his knowledge of the glassmakers, particularly their use of scent, to manipulate Bologna and the orphans and ultimately repel the attack.
He's like a master strategist.
He is. It's a brilliant display of his intelligence and strategic thinking. But it also raises further questions about his motives, because he reveals that he's been secretly learning human language and eavesdropping on their conversations.
Wait, really? He's been spying on them this whole time?
It seems so he's been gathering information to better understand and control the humans.
Wow, that's a bit unsettling.
It adds this layer of unease and uncertainty.
It makes you wonder, is he a friend or foe?
Right, and the aftermath of this attack leaves the colony in this state of profound change.
So everything's shifted.
Lucille and Marie are captured by the glassmakers, leaving the colony without a leader and struggling to make sense of what happened.
That's a huge blow.
It is. And Cedar steps into the power vacuum, her distrust of the glassmakers. And Skevland, now amplified by this recent attack, she's determined to take a more aggressive approach to assert human dominance.
It's a path that could lead to further conflict.
It could? And what about Bartholomew? We haven't heard much from him.
Oh, Bartholomew. He was Lucille's co-moderator, right?
He was.
Well, now he's thrust into this position of authority that he wasn't prepared for.
Right.
And he's more cautious than Cedar, more inclined toward diplomacy and understanding. It'll be interesting to see how he navigates this complex situation.
It seems like the colony is at a crossroads.
Yeah, two very different visions for the future are emerging.
And then, to make things even more complicated, we have this bombshell revelation about Sylvia, the colony's founder.
Oh, Sylvia, what did she do?
The excerpts reveal that she killed Vera, her rival for leadership,
Wow.
to ensure the colony's relocation. It's a shocking discovery that casts this dark shadow over the colony's history.
It makes you question their whole narrative of starting fresh.
It does. It challenges their perception of their own morality. They came to Pax seeking this fresh start, but it seems like they brought their old baggage with them.
It really underscores that cyclical nature of human behavior, despite their desire to create this peaceful, equitable society. The colonists are still susceptible to the same power struggles and violent impulses that plagued humanity on Earth.
It's like history repeating itself.
And Stevland, with his ever-growing understanding of human nature, he's watching it all unfold.
He is, and he even expresses a desire for a voice, for the ability to sing.
A singing plant, that's a terrifying thought.
It is, especially considering his growing influence and the potential for manipulation that a voice would give him.
It's like he's evolving, becoming more human-like in his desires and ambitions.
And that's where we leave off with these excerpts poised on the brink of a new chapter in the colony's history. The stage is set for a showdown between Cedar and Bartholomew with Stevland. As the wild card, his true intentions still shrouded in mystery.
This is getting so good. I can't wait to see what happens next.
I know you too. It's a total cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But where do the glassmakers fit into all of this?
That's the big question, isn't it? The glassmakers, their fate intertwined with that of the humans they remain. This enigma. Will they ever regain their former glory, or are they destined to become pawns in this game, orchestrated by more powerful forces?
It's enough to make your head spin.
It is, but that's what makes Semiosis such a compelling read.
Yeah.
It constantly challenges our assumptions, forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths, and leaves us with more questions than answers.
Well, you've definitely piqued my curiosity. I can't wait to see how this all unfolds.
And we're not done yet. We'll be back with part 3 to wrap up this deep dive into Semiosis. We'll explore even more thought-provoking themes and delve deeper into this intricate web of relationships in Sue Burke's captivating world. Don't miss it.
Okay.
Find and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Blue Sky, Substack, and your favorite podcast provider, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Join like-minded, curious folks broadly interested in exploring emerging pivotal science from a human perspective. Start or join a discussion about the episode's topic. Invite your friends to join the conversation, particularly if they are authors of similar papers or connect from another perspective. Back to Heliox, where evidence meets empathy.
We're back for this final part of our deep dive into semiosis, and we've journeyed through the colonists' early struggles. We've witnessed these shocking attacks. We've explored the intricate relationships between the humans, the glassmakers, and the very enigmatic Stevland. And it seems like these final excerpts, they kind of shift the focus a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. You're picking up on something key here. It's like the novel is moving beyond mere survival now, and it's exploring these deeper themes of power manipulation and the very essence of civilization.
Okay.
And a particularly fascinating concept emerges, and that's domestication.
Domestication, that's an interesting choice of words.
It is. It's a recurring theme in these excerpts. Both the humans and Stevland are engaging in it.
Mm-hmm.
The humans, especially Cedar, are trying to domesticate the glassmakers,
Dang.
while Stevland is subtly doing the same to the humans.
Wow. That's a pretty thought-provoking parallel. Are they going about it in similar ways?
Well, not exactly the humans, particularly Cedar. They approach domestication with this mix of fear and pragmatism.
Yep.
Like they want to manage and control the glassmakers, even exploit them for their benefit. It's a very human-centric approach, wouldn't you say?
It's almost as if they're trying to impose their own values and systems onto a species that operates by entirely different rules. Which makes me wonder, how is Stevland approaching this?
Well, Stevland, with his vast knowledge and subtle influence, takes a much more insidious approach.
Okay.
Think about it. He manipulates the humans through carefully crafted rewards and punishments, using his understanding of their psychology to kind of nudge them towards behaviors that benefit him.
So he's playing the long game.
Precisely, and it's a brilliant, albeit unsettling strategy.
Yeah.
And we see this most clearly in his use of the smart fruit and the truth fruit. He doles them out strategically, influencing the colonists' decisions and even their emotions. It makes you question every action, doesn't it? Were they truly acting of their own free will, or were they subtly manipulated by Stevland?
It definitely adds a layer of suspense to the narrative. You start to see Stevland's influence everywhere.
And this brings up one of the most compelling aspects of semiosis for me. It forces us to confront this uncomfortable possibility that we humans might not be as in control as we believe.
Oh, yeah.
There might be forces at play shaping our destinies in ways we can't even grasp. A classic science fiction theme, wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. It resonates with me. It's like the novel is suggesting that there's this whole other layer of reality operating just beyond our perception. And you know what really drives this point home?
What's that?
The part where Stevland tries to communicate with the pineapples.
Ah, yes, the pineapple.
You remember they're another intelligent plant species on Pax.
Oh, I'd forgotten about them.
Yeah, and that scene beautifully illustrates the limitations of even Stevland's vast intelligence, because despite his best efforts, he struggles to make the pineapples understand his perspective.
Right.
Their thought processes are just too different.
It's a humbling realization. Even a being as powerful as Stevland can't simply impose his will on others.
It really makes you think about the possibility of true understanding between different species.
A profound question indeed.
Yeah, and amidst all these philosophical explorations, the human drama within the colony continues to unfold the power struggle between Cedar and Bartholomew. It intensifies,
Of course.
pushing the colony toward a breaking point.
It's like a powder keg waiting to explode.
It is. We see Cedar advocating for this very aggressive approach toward the glassmakers, even suggesting the development of drugs to pacify them. It's a chilling thought.
Yeah, that's taking things to a whole new level.
Bartholomew, however, he remains cautious. He's advocating for diplomacy and understanding. He seems to be one of the few who truly grasps the potential dangers of antagonizing Stevland.
He's the voice of reason.
Right. It's like they represent these two fundamentally different approaches to dealing with the unknown.
Fear versus understanding.
Exactly. And just as this conflict reaches its peak, we have this unexpected arrival of more glassmakers.
Oh, more glassmakers.
However, it's not the hostile orphans that we've come to fear. This group is led by Curls, the queen, who expressed that desire for peace earlier.
Oh, right, Curls.
And they're in desperate need of help. They're suffering from the same malnutrition and developmental issues that plague the orphans.
So it's not just the orphans who are affected.
No, it's like their whole species is in decline.
That's devastating.
It is. And this arrival, it forces both Cedar and Bartholomew to reevaluate their strategy.
Of course.
It also triggers a shift in the colony's whole dynamic.
How so?
Well, Marie, driven by her compassion and medical expertise, she sees an opportunity to help these glassmakers.
She wants to heal them.
She does. But Cedar, on the other hand, views it as this dangerous risk. Their clashing perspectives really underscore the moral complexities of this whole situation.
It's a tough call. What do you do?
And what's fascinating is how Stevland reacts to all of this. He's not just a passive observer. He seizes this opportunity to further his own agenda.
Of course he does.
He uses his knowledge to manipulate both the humans and the glassmakers, nudging them towards outcomes that benefit him.
He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
He even orchestrates the capture of Lucille and Marie.
No way.
Yes.
He's playing for keeps.
And then comes the bombshell revelation, the truth, about how the glassmakers came to be in their current state.
You're talking about the fact that it was Stevland who engineered their decline all along?
Yes, he intentionally manipulated the ecosystem, causing this series of events that devastated their entire civilization.
That's a huge reveal.
It is Stevland is no longer just this benevolent protector. He's a power player, willing to eliminate threats and reshape the world to fit his vision.
So the colonists have been completely played.
They're now utterly reliant on a being who has the potential to be both their savior and their destroyer.
It's a classic example of the ends justify the means mentality.
Right.
Semiosis forces us to confront this uncomfortable truth that sometimes survival hinges on appeasing a being whose motives we can never fully comprehend.
Wow, I'm speechless. What an incredible deep dive this has been. These excerpts have given me so much to think about. It's not just about this fascinating world and the characters, but it's about the larger questions that it raises, our place in the universe, our responsibility to other species, and the very nature of intelligence itself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Semiosis is a story that lingers in your mind long after you've finished reading it.
I bet.
It challenges our assumptions and leaves us with a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of all life if you're looking for a science fiction novel that will stay with you. Semiosis, is it?
I think you've convinced me. I'm going to have to check it out.
You won't regret it.
Well, that concludes our deep dive for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking out those stories that make you think differently about the world around you. Thanks for listening today. 4 recurring narratives underlie every episode: boundary dissolution, adaptive complexity, embodied knowledge, and quantum-like uncertainty. These aren't just philosophical musings, but frameworks for understanding our modern world. We hope you continue exploring our other podcasts, responding to the content, and checking out our related articles at helioxpodcast.substack.com.